Good evening, Angelo. How are you? Um, subliminal message, but why? I I really don't know. Hello, Caroline. Hi, Mariana. Right. I don't know. Maybe those two sentences, yeah. But actually, I would like you to see those two sentences, A and B, and I would like they are in Portuguese, obviously, and I would like you to pass them into English. All right. So, how would you say this? Eu poderia ter ajudado você, and how would you say você deveria ter me escutado? Okay. So, just how would you say that in English? All right. Okay. So the message. Oh yes. Actually, it was not my intention, but yeah, maybe there's still time. I can still help you. Okay. Just reach out and I will get your hands. But all right, guys. So type in the chat. How would you say those sentences in English? Eu poderia ter ajudado você and você deveria ter me escutado. How would you say that? Because so as you write, basically the thing we are going to see tonight refers to this kind of sentence, this kind of structure. So I think that it's kind of instinctive for us Brazilians because we use the same idea in English and in Portuguese, like the same word, the same order of words. So I believe that if you can get it in English, these two sentences, uh, you shall have no problems when doing it in English, you know. So, no answers? Nobody's typing anything? Yeah, so what's the English version of these sentences? Okay, so Angela said I could have helped you, or you should listened to me. Mariana, I could have helped you. Closer. Hello, Cynthia. How are you? Yeah, actually, yes, you're pretty close. Actually, if you pay close attention to each part of the sentence, actually, there's something that is missing in the sentence, but the idea is there. Okay, so this the could or should, that's what I want to see actually. You know. Hello, Giandra. How are you doing? But yeah. So, for example, using these, let's see, I could have helped you, or you should have listened to me. You should have listened to me. That's it. Yes, actually, these examples that Angelo and Mariana typed, that's it. Okay, so basically, this is the structure we're gonna discuss tonight. It's not, it's nothing new actually. We are just putting the pieces we already know together. You know, so for example, we have already discussed about modal verbs like should or could. We have already discussed about the perfect tenses. So what we are going to do tonight is like using modals with perfect tenses, you know, to talk about the past specifically. And And that's it. So basically, the first one, let me try to put it right under. So like if you say I, and then poderia, we use could. Ter, we use have. Ajudado. So ajudado is the third form of the verb. So like I said, helped. And you. Oopsie. I could have helped you. That's the idea. And the second one, you should have listened to me. That's it. So that's exactly what you put in the chat. This is the structure. So basically, why did I say that it's kind of instinctive to us Brazilians? Because we use the same words in the same order, you know. Hello, Alonso, how you doing? So we use the modal in Portuguese, we use the modal in English, we use the verb, in this case, ter, in the infinitive form, so we don't use tenho, tinha, temos, we don't use the conjugation, we use the infinitive form. And in English, we use the base form, the infinitive, have. And ajudado, the third form, the participle in Portuguese, we use the participle in English. And that's it. So, poderia ter ajudado você, deveria ter me escutado. Okay, so this is the structure we're going to see tonight. So that's why I said it's nothing new. It's just putting pieces together, things we already know, but just learning like how to express a new message, maybe. So let's move on. Well, so here in our material, so we are in Unit 10 tonight, okay? So we're going to see about the past probability. So some classes ago, I believe in the Unit 4 or something like that, we discussed about probability in the present. Remember when we did an activity that we had a picture and then you needed to guess what object that was. So we had like cigarette, we had an apple. I thought we were gonna have an elephant, but we didn't have the elephant in that picture, in those pictures. But that activity, so it's gonna relate to that activity tonight, okay? But at that time, we were trying to guess the picture in the present. So the picture was there on screen in the present. What we're gonna do tonight is just try to guess things or suggest something like some deduction about the past. And that's all. And then we're going to involve the perfect tenses. So very quickly, quickly review on the modal verbs. So these are the modal verbs, if you remember. So can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, ought to. Okay, so of course we have we have more common modal verbs than others, like shall, ought to. They are not so frequent in everyday language, but they exist and we have already debated about them. And the other modals are their modals. So, like I said, the hard part is not learning how to use them. It's not the structure, okay? The hardest part is remembering what is the meaning behind each modal verb. Okay, so the meaning behind each modal verb is the most important thing when we talk about modal verbs. Because if you use one modal verb instead of another one, the message can be affected and then the communication, therefore, is affected as well. So the use of modal verbs, pretty simple. When we use modal verbs, we never change the verbs immediately after the modal verb. So for example, we would use the verb go. Can go, should go, must go, shall go, ought to go, could go, might go, may go. And that's the only form. We cannot use can goes or can went, should gone. No, we must use modal verb and the next word, the next verb, must be in the original form, the base forms, okay? The modals, they control all the ideas. So if you need a question, the modal verb creates the question. If you need an affirmative, the modal verb makes the affirmative. If you need a negative, the modal verb makes the negative idea. So the modal verb is the main word in the context because it controls all the idea, okay? And sometimes if it's present or past, like can or could, so the modals are the main words in the sentence. And examples. He shouldn't do that. So for example, oh, he's thinking of going to a party this weekend in the middle of the pandemic. Oh no, he shouldn't do that. He shouldn't do that. Okay, so the modal for advice, recommendation, shouldn't. Also, we would help if we had time. So this is the conditional that we discussed last week. We would help if we had time, but we don't have time, so we cannot help you. Or she mustn't do that. So this is an order, like a prohibition. She mustn't do that. Prohibition. And we ought to get going. So if you remember, ought to is the same idea of should. We should get going. We ought to get going. So ought to is the only one that uses the to, because all the other modal verbs, we don't use the to between the modal and the verb. So would help, could help, should help, must help, may help, might help, or ought to help. So ought to is the only one we use to, okay? For all the other modal verbs, no to involved. And sometimes if you need to change the form of the verbs, then you can just let the modal verb go and use other structures. For example, I hate having to get up early. So have to is a structure that you can use to express obligation. I have to study, so I must study. Or I need to study, similar to I must study. So have to, and then you can change the order. Like, I hate having to get up early. I love having to get up early. Okay. So in this case, you cannot use must, because if you use must, you have to use I must get up early. Okay, so you substitute the idea. And then it's not possible to say, I hate to must get up. No, this is wrong. I hate to must, no, because must is not a verb. So hate to must doesn't exist. Like, eu odeio ter que acordar cedo, for example. And in the past, so I was able to play the piano better when I was a child. So it's like an ability in the past. Okay, so and if you remember the difference between was able to and could is because could we use for general ideas in the past. Okay, like when I was a child, I could play the piano. Okay, it was an ability they had, but in this case, I was able to play the piano better when I was a child. So we have very specific thing, comparing playing the piano in the past, playing the piano in the present. So it's better to use the was able to. Okay, for example, oh, last night he was able to finish his job, because this is a very specific moment. Last night, okay, and when it's more a general idea, oh, in the past, like 50 years ago, in the past, people could have more free time. I don't know, a generic idea, so could. And today, this is what we're gonna see. We are gonna use the modal with the perfect tenses. So let's see. Basically, what we're gonna see about the modals themselves is pretty similar to what we have seen. For example, when you are deducing something, the level of certainty is relevant to the context. For example, if you remember the must, the can't, the could or may, it's like 90% or 50%. This is what we are going to recall tonight. Okay, so let's see. So basically the structure we're going to see tonight, all the structures, all the examples, we have modal plus have plus past participle. Modal, have, past participle. Basically, what we did before in the exercise that you put in the chat. Modal, have, so the example was, should have listened to me, or could have helped you, Okay, so we're going to use these three elements together. Modal, have, and the past participle. And the have, we will never change have, okay? Because have comes immediately after a modal. So if you need to put affirmative or negative or whatever, the modal will take care of this, okay? So you should have listened. You shouldn't have listened. Or should you have listened? So have listened doesn't change. Modal, the modal does all the job. So we're gonna see this idea. So this structure, like it might have rained overnight. The party must have been fun. She may have gotten lost. Okay, so basically this is the structure, and we are just speculating about the past. Okay, so like it might have rained overnight because it was pretty cloudy last night. But during the night I was sleeping, so I didn't see if it rained or not. But it might have rained because last night it was pretty cloudy. Okay, so I had some evidence, and then I made my deduction. Or the next one, the party must have been fun. So many of my friends were there. Okay, so the party happened. It's in the past. The party already happened. And oh, I can see pictures of my friends. All of my friends were there. So the party must have been fun. It's a strong conclusion because my friends are fun. My friends just go to fun parties. So the party must have been fun. So that's the idea we are going to see tonight about the past. Okay. Hi, Luciano. How's it going? So, similar to that class, I would like to show another file. So if you remember that we analyzed the picture similar to that. So it's similar, but it's not the same, you know. For example, if you speculate about the past, like in this case, the number one says, I saw my friend run quickly to school. I saw my friend run quickly to school. That's in the past. So, I saw my friend run quickly to school. I don't know why, but she might have been late. Okay, no, it's just speculation, but she might have been late. So she was running to school. Okay, because she was probably late. So this is just probability. But remember, when we use might, it's like 50%. I don't know, it's just a guess. Okay. Or the next one, hey, all the chocolates are gone. So the chocolates were here, but now the chocolates have disappeared. The chocolates are gone. Well, we could say that Tommy might have eaten them. I don't know. I didn't see. I don't really know what happened. But in this house, it's me, my mom, and Tommy. My mom doesn't like chocolate. I didn't eat the chocolate, so Tommy might have eaten them because Tommy likes chocolate. So I can speculate about the past. It's about the past because the chocolate has disappeared, okay? And I don't know what happened. Or another example. I think Steven drove to work today. I think Steven drove to work today. Okay. Well, Steven, you know, so just so you can have some background about Steven. Steven is, I don't know, 12 years old. Steven is 12 years old. Steven doesn't have a driver's license. Okay, so Steven is a child. And I think Steven drove to work today. Having some background information, no, he can't have driven. If you remember the can't, very strong negative idea. So must, very strong positive. Can't, very strong negative. Okay. And may, might, could, it's in the middle. Or the police shot a man in the bank. The police shot a man in the bank. Uh, it's in a bank, or it happened in a bank. It's not common that the police shoot people in banks. Okay, so if this happened, something may not be right. Okay, so if the police shot a man in a bank, and this is not common, this is not the right thing to do, so the man must have been a robber. Okay, so I am pretty sure that the man was a robber because the police doesn't shoot random people in the banks. Okay, so the man must have been a robber. So I'm making a strong conclusion about the past. That's it. So this is what we're gonna see. We're gonna use, tonight. And just as like we saw last week, the last time we discussed about modals, this is pretty much like the certainty level that you can rely on. So must, 95% sure that something was possible, might, could, may. It's like maybe, it's like 50% is just a guess, not enough background, not enough context. And the can't is the opposite. We are 95% sure that something was not possible. Okay, let's see some examples from our material. So, just the examples. Like, the invitations were sent last week. That's the fact. The invitations were sent last week. So, by now, like today, Thursday, so the invitations were sent last week. So, today's Thursday. My conclusion is everyone must have received them by now. Okay, because it's been like a week. Okay, so the invitations must have been delivered by now. Okay, it's a conclusion. Or they went to a nice restaurant last night. They went to a nice restaurant last night. So it's a nice restaurant, pretty elegant, very chic. Okay, so I suppose it must have been expensive. Okay, so we need to use all this structure, have and the verb in the participle, because we are talking about the past. And I started with the Portuguese sentences to show that we use exactly the same in Portuguese. Então, todo mundo deve ter recebido os convites. Deve ter recebido. Must have received. Or the next one. O restaurante era muito elegante. Deve ter sido caro. Deve ter sido caro. Must have been expensive. Okay, so that's why I said that it's almost instinctive to us Brazilians, because we use exactly the same logic, the same order, the same words, okay, to express the same idea. Or this is an example that I love to hate. He grew up in South America. He must have played a lot of soccer when he was younger. Okay, because we know that in South America, like all this, the south part of America, everybody plays soccer. Like we are born, before we learn to walk, we learn to play soccer. So he must have played soccer, a lot of soccer, when he was younger. Okay. Did you guys play a lot of soccer when you were younger? Okay. Because I suppose everybody here grew up in South America. Or the next example, the fact that we know he is always late. This is constant. This is a fact. He is always late. So he cannot have arrived already. Okay, because this is not the most probable happening. Okay, he is always late, so he can't have arrived already. But I don't know, maybe today was different. But it's like a deduction that I make. Or the next example here, You could not have seen me yesterday because I wasn't at school. So it's not possible that you saw me because I was not at school. Ok? So, isso não pode, não é possível. Você não pode ter me visto ontem. Pode ter me visto. So, pode ter visto. Could have seen. You could not have seen me because I wasn't at school. So it's pretty much impossible. Okay. And the should that we are gonna see is basically like a recommendation in the past. Not a recommendation in the past, but desire expressions that we learned, you know. For example, it should have rained last night. We need water for the crops. Okay, so it should have rained last night. We need the water for the crops. The crops are the plantations. Okay, students? Corn, beans, soy, so crops. So it should have rained, but the reality is it didn't rain. Okay, I expected it to rain, but it didn't rain. It's out of my control. Or he should have arrived by now. Where's he? He's late. He should have arrived. Okay, so ele deveria ter chegado. Deveria ter chegado. Or I don't understand why the total was so high. It should not have been so expensive. I came to this restaurant. I just had a glass of juice and a sandwich, and the bill was $200. No, it should not have been so expensive. Glass of juice and a sandwich, $200? No, it should not have been so expensive. Something's wrong. Okay. And could, might, may, it's unsure. Okay. So that's pretty much what we have already discussed. Okay, so this is not like really the most difficult part because what you need to remember is the meaning of the modal verb because the structure is fixed. Okay, always. Modal, have, verb. Modal, have, verb. Modal, have, verb. Modal, have, verb. Okay, so the structure is fixed. It's the same. It's like math. You know, it's as exact as math. Modal, have, and the verb. Okay, what you always need to remember and feel is the meaning of those modal verbs. Okay. Well, let's go to the second part because the second part is more, I think, relevant and more important for communication. So, I saw now that Luciano, not so much. I believe it's for the soccer part. Yeah. See, so the material, I guess you already know, but this material, Smart English, is a Canadian company, and they created this example. South America, soccer. Yeah, so everybody must have played soccer when they were children. Yeah. So let's go to this one because this one I think is more relevant, you know, for context and for life. It's the same thing, but the material is going to focus on could and should because it has also specific meaning. Okay, so the structure will remain the same. Modal, could or should, have, and the verb. Modal, have, and the verb. Okay. Should. So we can use should, for example, the sentence that we discussed in the beginning of the class. You should have listened to me. Deveria ter me escutado. When we use the sentence, we are like criticizing somebody. Por que você não me escutou? Você devia ter me escutado. So that's the idea. So we use should to express regret or criticism about a past event. Okay, it's a regret about something you did or you didn't do, or a criticism about something that another person didn't or didn't do, you know. And one very important thing, the sentence expresses the opposite of what happened. The opposite of what happened. Okay? For example, why'd you do that? You should have listened to me. In real life, the person didn't listen to the other. Like, hey, that's my advice. I'm telling you, don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't do it. And the person does it. And then later, maybe things go wrong. And why'd you do that? You should have listened to me. You should have listened to me, but you didn't listen to me. Or, I'm starving. I should have brought a lunch, but I didn't bring lunch. Okay? So I left home this morning. I didn't bring lunch, but I should have brought lunch. Now I regret my past decision. In the morning, I didn't bring my lunch. Now I regret the past action. I should have brought lunch because I'm starving now. Or, I really should have stayed home today. I don't feel well. I should have stayed home. It's because I didn't stay home. He should have come to class yesterday. He should have come to class yesterday. He didn't come to class yesterday. Okay? So we are expressing some criticism or regret about something. Okay? It's like, why? Why did it happen? I shouldn't have done it. Não devia ter feito isso. Okay? Or, for example, students, a personal problem that I have now and I would like to share with you so you can criticize me, okay? So I want you to put in the chat your hardest critics towards me. So guys, you can read in the chat. Last night, I was a little drunk and I married a stranger. So, give me your critics. Last night I was a little drunk and I married a stranger. Have you ever done it? Drinking too much that you get married and you just find out the next day? Okay, so what critics can you tell me based on this fact? It could happen in Las Vegas, yes. I believe it does happen every week, if not every day. Alonso told me that I shouldn't have done that because she's gonna take all my money. Oh, jeez. No, man, you shouldn't have done that. I know, Luciano. When I woke up this morning, I saw the ring. Yeah. Marina said, you shouldn't have done that. I know. You should have drunk alone at home. I know that. You should have listened to me about those weird drinks. Yes. I should have suspected that purple drinks, green drinks, fluorescent drinks, they are probably not the best options to have. But that's it, guys. Good examples, okay? For the grammar part, it's all right. Everything is right. For the moral and ethical part, I don't know. Okay, this is not what we are judging now. But very good, okay? So that's exactly that. So all the sentences you typed, you are like criticizing, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have drunk those drinks. I should have drunk alone at home. Cynthia said that my friends should have taken care of me. That's right, Cynthia. Now I can see that they are not my real friends. Very good, guys. I know you are not my psychologists, but let's see another problem that I had, okay? Because this is all about the past. Another problem that I had was in the chat. I was really bored last weekend. I had nothing to do. So I was really bored and I had nothing to do. I just like I just sat in the couch and stayed there like hours and hours just looking at the wall. I was really bored. I had nothing to do. So what regret or what criticism do you have based on this sentence? So Mateus said, "You could have called me. I was watching a movie with some friends." Oh, Mateus. If I had known, I would have called you. Alonso said, "You should have gone for a walk with the dogs." Oh, good idea, Alonso. That's right. By the way, so far they are not barking. Yes, let's hope it continues like that. Mariana said, "You should have washed some clothes." It's a good physical activity. Good. Angelo said, "You should have called me and then we should have played the computer game." Oh, that's... Yes, I should or I could. Good, good, Angelo. So you should have called me or we could have played. All right, no problem. Luciano said, you could have talked with some friend." Oh, that's true. That's true. Very good, guys. Great examples. Everything is right, everything is correct. Okay. And it's good that you are using could, like, oh, you could have, because this is like the next slides. The next slides are about could. And it's exactly like you're using. So it's all right. Very good. So until maybe something else comes, let's just move on to the could part. Okay. So they just put that we also use to support opinion or feelings, but it's natural. It's nothing different what we have seen so far. Like, wow, you should have seen his face. It was unbelievable. Like, it's something that you couldn't have missed. You should have seen. In Portuguese, we say the same thing. Like, você devia ter visto a cara dele. Foi inacreditável. But you didn't see his face. Okay, so that's the message behind. But it's nothing new. Let's go to could. Okay, so could is pretty much the same idea, and the structure is repeated, the same thing. Could have modal. Could have modal. Okay. Basically, we use to express an unrealized past ability. Unrealized past ability. Então, podia ter acontecido, podia ter feito, não fez. Something you had the ability to do, but you didn't do it. And notice the use of but in the sentence. So it's nice because people usually like excusing, you know, like, oh, I could have but. So they give some excuses and they use but a lot in those sentences. Like, oh, I could have joined that class, but I decided not to. I could have joined. So it was possible. I had time, I had internet connection, I had the computer, so I could have joined the class, but I decided not to. Or she could have chosen to see a different movie, but she wanted to see the comedy. Okay, so she had three options: an action movie, a comedy movie, and a horror movie. She could have chosen a different one, but she chose the comedy. Okay, so it's like she could have. It was a past possibility that didn't happen. And the last one, the last example, we could have bought the car. We could have bought the car, but we decided that we didn't need one. So I was there, the car was there, the money was in my pocket, so all the requisites were present, but I didn't need a car, so I didn't buy. But I could have bought. Okay, so it's like a past possibility that didn't happen. So, or sometimes when we are talking about like things that we didn't do in the past or accidents that we escaped, and then we start imagining like, wow, it was so dangerous, I could have been killed, but whew, luckily I'm fine. So I could have been killed. Eu poderia ter morrido, poderia ter sido morto, but I'm fine. It didn't happen. Or the next example, I could have kissed you when you did that for me. Thank you. It was a huge favor. Thank you so much. I was so happy that I could have kissed you when you did that for me. Okay? I could have kissed, but I didn't kiss. Or we could have gotten lost pretty easily in the crowd. There were like thousands of people. We could have gotten lost pretty easily, but we didn't get lost. Okay? So similar to the should and everything we are discussing, we are expressing the opposite of real life. Okay? That okay, and it's also used to criticize people, just like the should, and like you were putting in the chat to the propositions that I wrote. So you could have called, you should have called, or I got married with a stranger. You shouldn't have done that. You couldn't have done that, but you did. Okay, so it's like criticize. Or you could have woken up 10 minutes earlier to avoid being late for class. You were late for class. You missed the most important part of the class. It happened. But you could have woken up 10 minutes earlier. Or you could have called me to tell me you were going to be late. You could have called me, you know. So the structure, again, the structure, modal, have, verb. Modal, have, verb. Okay. The difference is in the modal part, in the meaning that the modals suggest. One thing that it's not in our material, but I would like to comment because I think it's more relevant to like for life. It's just, let me go back to our class notes. So specifically about these modal verbs, could and should, okay, and it also happens to would. It's very common that we see people like in real life using these expressions. So the examples that I wrote before. When people are speaking like normal speaking, like normal life, they have a tendency of shortening everything they can. So you can expect that they are going to contract the modals like this. So should have, they will contract to should have. Okay, so you can contract should have to should have, or you can contract should have to shoulda. Okay, shoulda, shoulda. So for example, reading your examples, I can say, like taking Mariana's example, you should have watched some clothes. You should have washed some clothes. This is normal, natural, fluent speaking. You should have washed. You should have washed. Or the next one, could. Could have, we can contract to could have, or we can contract to the most informal way, coulda. Okay, coulda. So coulda also. And I'm gonna put the last one here because it forms my favorite. Would have, we saw specifically in the last class about the third conditional. Would have, eu teria feito, poderia. So would have, also abbreviated to would have, also abbreviated to woulda. Okay. So specifically these three ones, and it forms to me, it's one of my favorite slangs in English. These three words, coulda, woulda, shoulda. So you can use this like in a conversation, and so you can say, for example, oh, students, I was really bored last weekend. I had nothing to do, and then you suggest me, oh, you could have called me, you could have watched the movie, you could have, and then I say, oh, really? That's true. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, or woulda, coulda, shoulda. It doesn't matter the order you use those words, but this is a popular saying in English. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda. So you can use this any order you wish, but you can use these three words. Okay? You cannot use two words like, oh, coulda, woulda. No, you use the three words. This is a popular saying, specifically more, even more for Americans. Okay? So this is when like the people realized they made a huge mistake. You know, like, oh, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Okay, so you can use these words: coulda, woulda, shoulda, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, or woulda, shoulda, coulda. Okay, so it doesn't matter the order of the words. And I don't know if you have already heard this, but this is pretty famous. You know, like people use it all the time, especially in informal situation. Okay, remember that the more contracted, the less formal it is. Okay, in English, contraction reveals informality. And then, for example, if you go to YouTube right now and then you put that, you can find like many songs, like shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, it's here in my history. Like you can see many songs like Many Raps or Flying Colors. This is my favorite shoulda, woulda, coulda example. Okay, it's a pretty cool band. Or Brian McKnight, love songs from the 2000s. Or Celine Dion, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Or Beverly Knight, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Brian McKnight, Rachel's English, a great channel. Okay, or music, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda. See, so people, this is pretty famous in English, you know, these three words, and it's one of my favorite because of the sound. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Okay, and just the last part is something that it's not so common. Okay, I don't know if you have already used it or seen need as a modal verb, but need for some grammar books is also considered a modal verb. Okay, but the meaning is the precisar, you know, the normal meaning that we already use. And in this case, the material is going to show us the need or needn't, more specifically the negative form, needn't. Okay, you don't use this with the affirmative form, need. You must use needn't. Needn't have verb. This is the same structure, needn't have the verb. And the meaning of needn't have verb is to express something that was done but was unnecessary. It was a waste of time. And this detail is important. It was a waste of time. Okay? It was a waste of time. Remember, waste has a negative idea, a desperdício. It's not just a neutral spend time. No, waste time is negative. Let's see some examples. You needn't have cooked dinner for me. I could have done it myself. Okay, so you needn't have cooked dinner for me. In real life, you cooked dinner for me. This is what happened. You cooked dinner for me. But you needn't have cooked because I can do it myself. Or, we needn't have come so early. The class starts in 45 minutes, so it was unnecessary. It was a waste of time coming earlier. So we needn't have come. Or the last example. I needn't have brought an umbrella. I did. I brought an umbrella. Here's my umbrella. But I needn't have brought an umbrella because it has turned into a beautiful afternoon. Very sunny, no clouds in the sky. I needn't have brought, but I brought. Okay, this is the message, the implicit message. And then the material highlights a little difference. Although this expression is similar to didn't need to, não precisava, não tinha que ter feito isso, não precisava, there's a small but important difference. We use didn't need to when we are simply saying that it was not necessary. Okay, it was not necessary. The needn't implies it was a waste of time, like it was unnecessary, like a waste of time. So it's like almost like a criticizing, offending somebody. And didn't need to is neutral. Okay. Oh, for example, you go to a person's birthday party and you give a gift to the person, and the people always say, "Oh, thank you so much. You didn't need to. You didn't need to. You didn't have to." But this is like a good meaning. Like, "Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it, but you didn't need to." If the person uses "you needn't have to," it's like, "Oh my gosh, I hate this present. I hate this gift. You needn't have bought this to me because I didn't like." So it shows a negative effect. Let's see some examples. I just have watered the flowers. Okay, so in this case, I have watered the flowers. This is the reality. But I needn't have watered the flowers because after I finished, it started raining. So it's like a waste of time. So I needn't have watered the plants. Or it started raining, so I didn't need to water the flowers. So in the first case, I needn't have water. I watered the plants. Okay? So I watered the plants and it was a waste of time. In the second example, it started raining, so I didn't need to water the flowers. I didn't water the flowers. Okay? I didn't water the flowers. Já que estava chovendo, nem precisei molhar as flores. E no primeiro, não precisava ter molhado as flores. Have watered, ter molhado. Because it started raining. So the first one, it's negative, waste of time. The second one was, oh, good, started raining, no need to water the flowers. Okay, or next one. You didn't check your email because I didn't send you. You didn't need to check your email because I didn't send you any. So I don't know if you checked your email or not. It's irrelevant. But because I didn't send you any email, you didn't need to check. And if you say you needn't have checked, you checked your email, but it was a waste of time. Okay? You just wasted your time because I didn't send email. So you checked and empty inbox. So waste of time. Or the next one. She didn't need to make a reservation because the restaurant isn't very crowded. So it was not necessary to make the reservation. The second one. She needn't have made a reservation. Okay. She made the reservation. It was a waste of time because the restaurant is empty. So she just like wasted her time reserving the restaurant. Okay, so that's the difference. And the last one, the last example. He didn't need to ask me. So he didn't need to ask if there was a space at the hotel. Every room in the city was booked because of the World Cup. So I don't know if he asked. Maybe he didn't ask. I don't know. But he didn't need to ask because every room is busy. So in the second one, he needn't have asked. Okay, he asked me, but it was a waste of time because all the rooms are booked. Okay, so that's it. So this was the part 3. Basically, tonight, the structure that we saw in all the cases are Modal, have, verb. Okay, modal, have, and the verb. The difference in the meaning, the difference in meaning was in the modal. The modal was like, you must be careful about the meaning that the modal brings to the context, because the structure will be fixed. In detail, we are just speculating, making deduction, guessing about the past, or criticizing about the past. The situation happened, and we are just deducing or speculating or criticizing now. We are criticizing now about the past. Okay, so it's pretty much it. The unit in the class for tonight. This, like you can see in the title of the video, is modals of past probability. Okay, probability because I am not sure, and it's in the past because the situation already happened, right? So now I'll just open here. While I will start, I wanted to finish pretty earlier because today the topic was not so long, the unit 10. So you can access the grammar part and start doing the activities. And soon I'll start calling the groups, okay, one by one for the speaking part. And then because we have time, I'm gonna, have a longer conversation. So I want you to speak more and more because we are reaching the end of the semester. So I want you to speak more, basically. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna turn off the transmission, okay, and then just soon I'll start calling your names for the speaking part. Okay, so thank you so much for your presence, your participation in the chat, and see you soon, guys.